sponsors Indica Cream, Ramraj, Mritu Towels presents Galata Thug Life Celebrations. Powered by Prithvi Innovias, The Chennai Silks, Darling, Sura Books, Jayachandran, We Care. Associate partner Inno6.
Title sponsors Indica Cream, add color to your life. Ramraj Mridu Towels, super soft, super absorbent. Galata presents Thug Life Celebrations. Powered by Prithvi Innowares, your perfect partner. The Chennai Silks, let the celebrations begin. Darling AC Tiruvira, இந்தியாவிலேயே மிக குறைந்த மாத தவணையில் ஏசி. சுரா கைட்ஸ், சுரா ஸ்கூல் கைட்ஸ் ஃபார் ஆல் கிளாஸஸ். ஜெயச்சந்திரன், குறைந்த விலை நிறைந்த தரம், தங்கள் தேவைகள் அனைத்தும் ஒரே இடத்தில். ஜெயச்சந்திரன். Associate sponsor Inno6, Bharat Ka Next Gen Crypto Exchange. Hello and welcome to Galata Plus. In this video review episode, we're going to be talking about Mani Ratnam's Thug Life starring Kamal Haasan and Silambarasan. The film is an underwhelming mix of action and drama. The concept is solid. A man keeps trying to avoid death and death keeps coming at him in every direction. But despite strong filmmaking, the narrative remains emotionally aloof. The rest of this review may contain spoilers, so watch at your own discretion. Mani Ratnam and Kamal Haasan have repeatedly stressed that their reunion after Nayakan has nothing to do with that earlier film. They are right. There are a few images, a few touches that reminded me of Nayakan. Trisha, named Indrani, plays a version of the girl who saved from a life of sex work. Silambarasan, named Amaran, plays a version of a boy who thinks his father has been killed by his mentor. He's essentially a more ferocious variation on the boy who kept saying Baba Mar Gaya. Plus, as a lost little boy, we see Amaran in an oversized shirt like a Nayakan as he loses his father and is adopted by another father. Kamal Haasan is named Shaktivel, as is his grandson. The idealistic cop played by Nasir in Nayakan finds a kind of reflection in the idealistic cop played by Ashok Selvan, only this cop is after bad guys across the board. He is not just after criminals but also the crooks in the government. But here's the thematic difference. Nayakan was an examination of good and bad, whether being oppressed meant that you could take the law into your own hands even if it was to help your fellow oppressed. The philosophy at the core was direct and the questions it raised were emotionally affecting. Thug Life, on the other hand, is more abstract. It's the story of a man who constantly battles with death. He even battles with his own death at a point when he is betrayed. Shaktivel's opening monologue talks about Yama, the god of death, and both literally and figuratively, that is in the form of loss, this film is filled with death. The death of a brother, the death of a mother, which is stated but not shown, the death of a lover, the death of a son, the death of an innocent father in a shootout, the death of a wife's memory, the death of trust. But while all of this seems like a good idea, it does not translate easily on screen, and what we're left with is an underwhelming mix of action and drama. This could have been the story of a man who made a decision on behalf of his brother's daughter, a decision that ended in tragedy. This could have been the story of a bar dancer used by or kept in a golden cage by two different men. This could have been the story of a brother and sister who are reunited by the man responsible for their separation at a young age, the very man who used the little boy as a shield against his death. Shaktivel in this scene is an opportunistic coward. This could have been the story of two brothers, one of whom seeks the other one's power. This could have even been the story of a gangster who is torn between the love for his wife and the lust for his much younger girlfriend. And this is something I would have really liked to see from Mani Ratnam. Thug Life tries to be all these stories, and in all the jumping between tracks, it quickly loses the narrative tension. The Mani Ratnam signatures do exist. There is a superbly compressed stretch that, in short story fashion, shows us the series of events that leads to a young woman's suicide. Her ultra-conservative father is a big reason for this decision. Indrani's introduction stretch is a beauty. Her past is interwoven with her present, and the pace transforms what could have been a melodrama into something playful and very sexy. And though one part of me was devastated that A.R. Rahman's absolutely outstanding soundtrack was not used in full, the way the songs like Sugar Baby and Jingicha weave in and out of the music video staging and simultaneous narrative happenings, that's breathtaking. Editor Shrikar Prasad, cinematographer Ravi K. Chandran, the team that found the locations, and especially production designer Sharmishta Roy, everyone pitches in strongly, but the film remains emotionally aloof. The gangsterism is very generic, filled with very generic action and very generic lines about the business. We hear the Jojo George character comment that Amaran has made made the business flourish, but it remains a line. We don't get a sense of this flourishing actually happening. There's a nice line where Shaktivel talks about Delhi being cursed with sons wanting to overthrow their fathers. But again, this tossed off line doesn't pierce the heart like a well-staged dramatic scene might. And because of the time spent on this gangster stuff, the drama, which is far more interesting, suffers. Shaktivel gets a daughter whose marriage-related subplot could have been axed from the movie and we would have missed nothing. There is a puzzling scene with transgenders that seems to have no beginning or end. There's the hint of a brilliant stretch between Shaktivel and Amaran in a hospital, but the drama ends almost before it can begin. Why does Amaran believe what he's told about Shaktivel so quickly? Wouldn't he want to confront the man with whatever he has learned? Wouldn't he want to know if this is indeed true? Are these two characters close at all? Post Iruvar, Mani Ratnam has been moving away from stating the obvious and instead visualizing it. It worked beautifully in the Ponniyin Selvan films, but here this technique takes away the emotional glue that binds us to these characters. What kind of gangsters are these? What is their business? What is the deal Amaran makes without consulting Shaktivel? Instead of concrete insights, we get Kamal Haasan style abstractions that remain interesting as concepts, but they don't help the narrative much. The name Amaran suggests immortality, but I don't know if the film would have played any differently had the character been called, say, Kumaran. There is a bizarre segue to Himalayan territory that seems to exist to bring in a martial arts flavor into the movie, but again, all this could have happened anywhere. Two brothers at different points fall from a height as they prepare to meet their death. But this echo adds nothing to our emotional response to these characters. When Indrani moves in with another man and becomes an alcoholic, we feel nothing for her. With many of the conflicts in Thug Life, my response was simply, why should I care? If nothing else, Thug Life makes you wonder about how much action a dramatic film can hold and how much drama an action film should have. Now, I'm not a fan of Chekka Chevandavanam, but there was a clarity in that narrative. It was about three brothers who wanted their father's throne. It was action over drama. In Thug Life, you think the second half will do something similar. I thought the film would explode into a revenge story filled with guns and knives and devious plotting, but now the emotional drama keeps getting in the way, with meandering borderline surreal scenes like the one with Shaktivel and his wife on a beach. As a piece of staging, there's not a single lazy frame, and some of the surrealism works wonderfully, at least as visuals. But there's nothing inside the image that makes its way into us, nothing that makes us invested in these scenes. Kamal Haasan, Silambarasan and Trisha do what is required without fuss. Among the supporting characters, Vadivu Karasi makes the strongest impression. First, with the sarcasm-filled monologue, this brought back memories of her brilliant work in Mudal Maryadai, and then with the dramatic bit in a church. This is the kind of sharp acting and writing where a character is fleshed out in just a few strokes. Otherwise, there are too many characters and very few of them register impactfully. Joju George, Aishwarya Lakshmi, Bhagavati Perumal, Nasir, Mahesh Manjrekar, Ashok Selvan, Abhirami, all of them are stuffed into generic parts. Rashri Deshpande barely gets a line of dialogue. One gets the feeling that in this Delhi-based gangster drama, Mani Ratnam was less interested in the gangsters than in the drama. It's very poetic to start a film with a warrior standing in a field of grass and end with the same man in a different kind of field. He is now a different man. But the emotional through line doesn't take us from this point A to this point B. So okay, it's just a movie and not the end of civilization as we know it, but after Retro and Thug Life, I am beginning to believe that our auteurs, our filmmakers with a very unique voice should not make movies with stars. One reason is simply that when we go to these films, Karthik Subbaraj is the star. Mani Ratnam is the star. But when they invite star actors or actor stars into the universe, they seem to get pulled into a different orbit, which involves bigger business stakes and bigger fan bases and so on and so forth. And a dark drama like Thug Life, one with no heroes as such, ends up with a hero worship song like Binbeli Nayaka. The entire tonality of the film gets thrown off. The same song makes so much more of an impact when a bit of it is used as an instrumental undercurrent in a scene where Shaktivel attempts to pacify his angry wife. In other words, this is a big song that plays better in a smaller moment. I'm sure Mani Ratnam will bounce back and I'm sure Kamal Haasan will bounce back, but hopefully in their own independent ventures. That's it about Thug Life. If you like this video review, do subscribe to Galata Plus and see you soon at the movies.
Title sponsors Indica Cream, Ramraj, Mritu Towels presents Galata Thug Life Celebrations. Powered by Prithvi Innovias, The Chennai Silks, Darling, Sura Books, Jayachandran, We Care. Associate Partner, Inno6.